I graduated college with $83,000 of student debt. And not only that, over 44 million Americans have student loan debt, and that averages about $30,000. Knowing that I did not want to spend the next 10 years of my life paying off my student loans, I've spent the last 4 years being very diligent and very rigid about my student loan repayment. I've been paying back my student loans aggressively. In this video, I want to give you an update on my student loan journey. I want to also tell you how my student loan repayment has changed due to the pandemic. And then I also want to offer just my advice and my perspective on people who have student loans and may not be sure if they should be paying their student loans now or if they should be doing something else with that money. So my name is Sabrina Rainique, and on this channel we live a life that we love while planning for the life that we want, all through personal finance, travel, and lifestyle. So if you like videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and also hit that bell notification button so you can be notified of all the videos that I post. And let's get into it. So as a little background, I graduated college in May of 2015, and I graduated with $83,000 of student loan debt. And let me tell you, when I was in college, I actually never really knew how much I owed because I was just taking out my student loans, but I never really wanted to calculate everything so that I could see how much I actually owed. It wasn't until I graduated college and I was like, all right, I really do have to calculate all the loans that I've paid and how much I actually owed. And I realized that I owed $83,000, and that number just seemed so crazy. I didn't make a single payment on my student loans for a whole year. So pretty much for that year, I was just really nervous. I didn't know what my first step would be. I didn't really know how I was going to tackle these student loans, so I just kind of let them sit and accumulate interest. But eventually I coaxed myself to start learning more about paying off my student loan and debt repayment. And as an update, about 4 years later, I've been very diligent with my student loan payments. I've learned so much about debt and how to manage my money, and I'm happy to say that I've been able to pay off about $46,000 in my student debt, and I have about $37,000 left. So if you want to know the full story of my student loan journey and the plan that I have in place that has allowed me to pay almost $50,000 in student loans, definitely check out this video. I'll also link it down below. That's my student loan update and pretty much where I am in present day when it comes to paying off my student loans. I will say when I first started paying off my loans, I just did not see the light at the end of the tunnel. It just seemed like such a large amount of money. With these 4 years of consistency and really just making sure that I make my loan payment every month, I've seen my loans just decrease so much. And it's been so great to see. So I'm definitely at a place where I feel like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm almost there. And when these student loans are fully paid, let me tell you, you're gonna see your girl on a cruise, on a vacation, on a catamaran, something, because it has been a long journey. It has required sacrifice. I'm really proud of myself, so I'm gonna celebrate that. If you are on your student loan journey, just want you to know I'm here with you, and we are doing a thing. We're gonna stay consistent, and we're going to be soon to be debt free. So fast forward to today, like I mentioned, I have a very rigid plan when it comes to paying off my student loans. I pay my loans on the same day, every month, the same amount, and I make sure that these student loans get paid. And funny enough, when I first started paying my loans, I didn't like doing it because I was just like, all this money, like all of my hard-earned money is going to these student loans. But now I really do look forward to paying my student loans. I think because I'm like, every time I make a student loan payment, I'm so much closer to being debt-free and reaching my goal. With the pandemic, things have drastically changed. So there have been a lot of economic relief implementations, one of them being the CARES Act. And if you aren't familiar with the CARES Act, one of the components of this act is that student loans have been paused and the interest rate for student loans have been reduced to 0%. Now, as someone who has student loans with 8% interest on them, you know, when I heard that, I was like, hold up. That's actually great news, amazing news. 8% for federal student loans is pretty substantial, and just in general, it's pretty substantial. So to know that my loans went from 8% interest to 0% interest, I definitely felt like I needed to reevaluate my student loan repayment plan. And not only that, but I would say that things have been a little unpredictable nowadays. I definitely know a good handful of people who were out of work. I definitely know people who have been furloughed from their jobs. And I feel like I just don't know really what's going to happen due to just the state of things due to the pandemic. So now I've been faced with the question of, do I continue to make these payments and these extra payments towards my student loans? Now that there is no interest on these student loans, it could be a great opportunity to really pay them down. Or do I kind of brace myself for the unknown and decide to pause paying my student loans and do something else with that money? So I've definitely been hearing different advice from different individuals. Some people are saying, definitely pay your student loans now. It's a great opportunity for you to really pay down that debt when there are no required student loan payments and there's no interest rate. I hear some people are like, don't pay any extra money towards your student loans because it's a pandemic and you just don't really know what's going on. There are some people who are like, well, this is a great opportunity to invest these payments instead because the market is fluctuating and there's a great opportunity to invest into the market because there's potential for a lot of gains. Make that money work for you. So instead of putting it into the student loans, you're going to put it into the stock market and make some money. So you'll be able to cover your student loans if you make more money, and then you'll also have a little extra money on the side as well. So I think there's just been a whole lot of different pieces of advice that I have been hearing when it comes to if you should pay your student loans. So I wanted to spend some time talking about what I'm going to do. I also want to take some time to give anyone who is wondering what should they do during the pandemic now that federal student loans have been paused and there is 0% interest rate, offering kind of my perspective and my advice on what you can do with your student loans based off of your specific circumstances. So I have decided to not pay my student loans during the pandemic, and this has been a very hard decision because, like I said, I look forward to paying my student loans nowadays because it makes me feel like I am getting that much closer to my goal of being debt-free. However, I have decided to not pay my student loans because I don't really have to and there's no consequence of me not doing so. I've also been really fortunate where I have continued to work throughout the pandemic, but one thing that the last few months have showed me is that anything is possible. So although I am not paying off my student loans during this time, I'm not just spending the money all, willy-nilly. Instead, I am just taking that same student loan payment, and instead of putting it towards my student loans, I'm taking that same amount for my student loan payments and I'm putting it into my high yield savings account. So I consider myself to be pretty risk adverse, and I'm always thinking about what things could go wrong. So by me deciding not to put my student loan payments towards my student loans, but instead into my high yield savings account, that money is kind of sitting there, and when the student loans come out of forbearance, I'll be able to just take a lump sum of the money that I have been saving over the last couple of months and put it straight towards my student loans. The reason that I am not putting my student loan payment into the stock market, even though I do agree now is a great time to invest, is because I typically do not like to invest money that I'll need within the next 5 years or so. And like I mentioned, I think the stock market is pretty volatile at the moment, so I don't want to risk losing my student loan payments to the volatility of the market. So by putting my student loans into a savings account, I'm pretty much able to plan for the worst. So let's say something does happen and if I am out of work, at least I would be able to use that money towards getting back on my feet. But if hopefully that is not the case, when these student loans are coming out of forbearance, I'll be able to just take that money and put it directly towards my student loans in one lump sum. So now I do want to talk about just my opinion on if you should continue making student loan payments in order to pay your student loans a bit quicker while there is no interest on your loans and while student loans are paused, or if you should do something else with that money. So my thoughts are, it really does depend on your specific circumstances. So for example, if you are still working throughout the pandemic, if you already have a emergency fund, haven't really been financially impacted by the pandemic, then I say definitely go for it. Continue to pay your student loans, and even if you have extra money that you can find somewhere, you can also put that towards your student loans, because with no interest for the last couple of months, your student loans will really decrease the more money that you can put towards your student loans during this time. If you want to be extra cautious like me, I would say continue to take your student loan payment out of your paycheck and move it towards your high yield savings account just in case, because we never know what could happen. And then once these student loans are no longer in forbearance, take that lump sum that you've been saving over the last couple of months and put it towards your student loans. If you don't have an emergency fund that you've already built up, this could be a good time to pause your student loan payments and build up your emergency savings fund, or you could even use that money for a large purchase that you've been putting off. If your finances have been negatively impacted by the pandemic, I suggest that you do not make any extra payments towards your student loans, even though I know that you probably really want to. During times like this, during economic uncertainty, it's best to just focus your money on the absolute necessities and make sure that those are taken care of. Things like student loans can always be worked out at a different time. So let me know in the comments below if you have decided to continue paying your student loans during the pandemic, or if you've created a whole new plan for your student loan repayment due to the economic situation, or just let me know where you are in your student loan journey. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.